Hello everyone, bringing you another unboxing video today, and what we're going to be looking at here is some Dutch kit which has arrived from my friend Kevin Mills, who's very kindly put this stuff together for me. Thank you very much once again, Kevin. This is to fill a bit of a gap. Obviously I've made videos previously looking at the late Cold War era Dutch web equipment, which is still very much based on Britain's 1937 pattern. This is to look at the earlier stuff, the stuff still manufactured in cotton webbing and so forth, the M52 web equipment. And as I say, some other bits and pieces have arrived, Dutch battle dress and so forth as well, to complement that. So thank you very much indeed for Kevin. I do know some of the bits that are arriving in this lot, as opposed to it being a sort of a surprise. So we'll get on with unboxing what's arrived now.
Right guys, so unfortunately a slight caveat to this. The actual footage of me unboxing everything, when I came to edit it, had actually been corrupted in some way or another. Quite annoying really. I've disposed of the boxes and everything, so be pointless to box everything up again anyway. But what we're going to do is I'm going to run through the bits and pieces that have arrived and talk about them. Not an initial unboxing. I did know most of what was coming anyway. So the first thing we'll talk about is the uniform that's arrived, followed by the web equipment, which is the bulk of what's arrived. We have a Dutch battle dress based closely on the British battle dress serge. Well, the 1940 pattern obviously has a lined collar and everything there, as you can see. Slightly different in that it has a button tab under the collar to close the collar, which was something used by Commonwealth countries in manufacturing battle dress. So that's a feature there. Similar to the Canadian battle dress in terms of colour, more of a dark green colour as opposed to the sort of the more caramel brown colour of British battle dress. Very much a green colour similar to Canadian, but the same sort of texture, the same rough cloth as British serge. It's the label in the waistband here. Bring that up to the camera. Focus there we go. 1958. And there are a pair of trousers to go with this as well. If I just bring these into shot here, you can see the same colour of cloth. You can see here the dressing pocket is of battle dress serge pattern, belt loops and so forth, and you do even have the ankle tabs as with earlier British battle dress patterns. And again, you can see there is a label in these somewhere. Or I thought there was. Perhaps I'm remembering incorrectly on that. Interesting, the lining here, of course, over the kidney area, made of wool flannel rather than cotton. So a little bit of extra warmth there. You have a double layer of wool at the back there, just above the pockets. So that's interesting. So trousers and blouse there. I'll just move these over to one side here, out of the way. And then the majority of stuff that's arrived is web equipment. We'll look at some of the... Let's have a look here. There are two odd pouches here. These are Netherlands Air Force issue. Very similar to British basic pouches. As you can see, the fittings and everything on the back are basically the same. But the lids close with a leather tab and stud, more akin to earlier leather equipment. So interesting sort of hybrid of web equipment and leather there. Just, say, quite a distinctive piece of Dutch equipment, as I say, Netherlands Air Force. A pair of those pouches, and we have several British and, well, British Commonwealth basic pouches. We have several of these. Try and get all of them here. All, I think, in Dutch KG3 Blanco. These are Mark IIIs. That one 1942. You might be able to make out there. I can see it. I'm not sure if you can, but it is 1942 in there. Not always clear on the camera. This one is, you can just see the Roman numeral 3 there, the Mark III. Same with this one. You can see, oh, well, you can see the 3 up here, III, and then limited, but I can't make out what's here. So another Mark III. And then a Canadian made example. You can see with the wider, compare it here, one of the distinctive features, you can see the wider tab for the female part of the press stud there. So this is a Canadian made example. No particular stamps or anything in there that can be seen. Obviously in the yellower colour of Canadian web equipment that's quite often seen, a number written in the top there, but the stamps have sadly disappeared. But yeah, so several of those. Thank you for those, Kevin. They were an addition to to what was purchased. So thank you very much indeed for those. A couple of oddities. Dutch utility pouches. These are a copy of the British utility pouches. They aren't a pair. One, of course, should have a strap on the back, and there's a yoke which goes around the neck. They work exactly the same as the British utility pouches. They hang around the neck and are give you the ability to carry more ammunition, be it Bren gun magazines, mortar bombs, etc. So these are two of a kind. You should have one with a strap on it which passes through this channel and goes around the body to stabilize them. So this is basically, I need another two to make up two pairs, if you will. These have an interesting take on the quick release fastening on the front, Dutch take on the quick release fastening. If I can demonstrate here, a little difficult with the pouch open, empty actually. If I don't think I'm going to be able to do this without something in the pouches. Obviously, big brass collar there. There we go. No, it will go. And then in the shade there, you can see a big brass piece reinforcing the tip of the quick release strap there. So just an interesting take on it, I guess. Quite heavily riveted sections of brass around there to reinforce the area that's working as the quick release loop and tab. So Dutch utility pouches. We then have a couple of Respirator haversacks, a couple of different designs of these. You can see the stamp in the, I believe that's 61 there. These have an anti-dimming outfit tin in the compartment here. I can wiggle that out. You can see that there. Brillenjalf voor gasmaskers. Now that's probably terrible pronunciation and I apologise for that. Anyway, cloth, and then inside you have a compound and little roll in the centre there. That's one of the two Respirator haversacks. You can see again the leather reinforcement for the quick release tab. It works in the same way basically as that on the utility pouches, but obviously with a leather strap rather than webbing. I'll leave that out for the minute actually. And we have another one here with a respirator inside, with a gas mask inside. This again has the same, externally very similar, but internally, I can get the quick release undone. A little bit different. You can see under the flap there, we no longer have the stamping and everything there. We have a separate compartment which has another version of the anti-dimming, what in Britain would be called an anti-dimming outfit in the lid there. You can see here, slightly different. It does the same thing. And I believe this is the K type. You can see gas mask at K. I believe this is the K type gas mask. Interesting little tag here. I'm not sure if that's a soldier's number. Someone might be able to clarify that for me, but there's a little tab riveted in underneath the flap there. Put those together for the moment. And in here we have contents. We have a tube of decontamination powder, which I believe is similar to Fuller's Earth, or is Fuller's Earth. Does the same job as Fuller's Earth in British service anyway. And then we have a filter here, a canister, September 1981. Hopefully you can see that there. And then we have the face piece itself, which you can see here in a khaki rubber. And that is K53, which you can see there. 1953, I believe that would be the date of manufacture. Exhale valve here, intake port there for the canister to screw into. So that there, and then obviously that's the main compartment of the haversack. So pop that back in there and put those to one side for a minute. That was the anti-dimming outfit from this one. So the little pouch on the lid there. Put those to one side for the moment. Oops. Right, so the next bit to look at is some of the web equipment that's arrived. One thing which did arrive is this, which I'm assuming is a trouser belt. It's a very thin piece of webbing with a buckle on the end there, and then a little press stud here. There should be one here stitched on as well, just to obviously secure the end. So I'm assuming it's a trouser belt. It just seems to be the only function I can see this serving, the belt loop on there. So that came tucked in one of the other bits and pieces. Another thing which arrived is a pair of, in British terminology, anklets. Basically a copy of the web anklets associated with the 1937 patent equipment. They aren't actually part of it, but they're associated with it and were worn with it. And you can see these on the back here. We have an MVO stamp on each of these. You can see one there, and you can see one there, I believe. It's a little faded, but you can hopefully see that. So basically a copy of British web anklets with leather straps and so forth, made in the same green material as the majority of the M52 web equipment. So a pair of those. We then have a pair of M52 basic pouches, or ammunition pouches, basic pouches in British terminology. They are essentially a copy of the 1937 pattern basic pouch. If I turn it over here, you can see the fittings on the back are a direct copy essentially. They do sit quite high on the belt though. The C-clips are quite low down compared to British practice. One of the major distinguishing features is the flap here is squared off. As you can see, there's no point to it as you get on the 1937 pattern. In fact, I can bring one of the other pouches in to demonstrate here, if I can dig one out. You can see there's a distinct point to the British pouch there in contrast. So these are part of the Dutch M52 web equipment, as I say, basically a copy of 1937 pattern. So a pair of those. In addition to those, we have the belt from the equipment set, which can be seen here. These are quite often used incorrectly as 1937 pattern belts by reenactors, but they are distinct in having these eyelets down the bottom, which of course allow kit using the M1910 type hanger hooks to be used with the equipment. And the Dutch decided to go with a US type canteen carrier, which we'll bring in next, and that is the reason for those eyelets down the bottom. You can see the canteen carrier here with a canteen inside, essentially a copy of US practice, Second World War US practice, you can see there, but with the MVO stamp on the back, and you can see the hanger hooks there. So this is suspended from the belt in American style, and a second pattern canteen cap, excuse me, in a soft rubber or soft plastic, as opposed to the earlier one, which had been a hard Bakelite cap. So, but a relatively early Dutch canteen, aluminium canteen there, basically an M1910 clone. So that's the Dutch canteen from this set. In order to support the belt, of course, we have a pair of braces, and you can see here they are essentially, well, one of the patterns manufactured as 1937 pattern, with the 1 inch section simply stitched onto the 2 inch section. On the back here, you can see where they cross over, there is a loop. Contrast to British practice, this is stitched to the outside of the brace. So in British practice it would be against your back, in Dutch practice it's stitched to the outside, so it's away from your back. So yeah, that's the braces from the equipment there in order to support the belt. And if you're not wearing ammunition pouches, you need a set of these brace attachments, which are a direct copy of 1937 pattern. You can see with the swing link there, so a direct copy of British manufactured 1937 pattern, just made in this dark green webbing, in contrast to the khaki used by used in British manufacture, or tan, depending on what you want to use. But khaki is the colour of British webbing when manufactured, generally speaking. So green rather than khaki, but otherwise identical to British practice. Then we have the haversack from the equipment here. Basically a copy of the 1937 pattern haversack, but with these additional loops around the outside to allow equipment or a bedroll to be strapped to the outside of the haversack. But otherwise the same. As you can see, L straps at the rear to attach it to the rest of the equipment. These actually have blackened fittings, so they're a little bit later. But again, basically exactly the same as 1937 pattern. If we open it up and get these straps undone here, you can see inside it is divided in the same manner. So you have 3 compartments, mess tins at the front, and then an area for soft kit at the back. In British practice anyway, that's what they would be for, but all dyed green, as you can see. But basically a copy of the 1937 pattern haversack. And occasionally these are seen used with the extra fittings removed in place of British haversacks. The reenactors use them, but they are in fact Dutch and manufactured post-war for Dutch use. So finding original British bits is not too difficult, so there's no need to really do that, but some people do. Another directly copied item really is the pack, which is copied from that, both used with the 1908 and the 1937 pattern web equipment. The only addition to this is, again, loops around the outside in order to allow extra load to be strapped to the outside, so a rolled shelter half or something like that can be made into a horseshoe and strapped onto the outside of the pack. Otherwise, you can see at the back here the tails for the L straps, the buckles for the supporting straps. It works in exactly the same manner. And we can see a pair of the supporting straps here. They're basically exactly the same as British manufacture. One of the distinctive features in this instance is the style of rivets used, but otherwise basically exactly the same. And Kevin has also put another pair of these in. Of course, these were also used around the haversack to carry an extra load, so you have an extra pair of those there as well. But that's a look at the web equipment that's arrived and the uniform. A big thank you to Kevin once again, and I'm just sorry that the actual unboxing video didn't come out correctly, but hopefully this is of interest nonetheless.
So there we are. I hope you found it interesting looking through those bits and pieces. I couldn't wait to get the stuff on the mannequin, so as is often the case with these videos, we'll finish up with a set of the M52 web equipment on the mannequin, Dutch battle dress, admittedly a later pattern of M53 with the plastic liner and so forth, but nevertheless, I think it looks rather good together on the mannequin with the gas mask bag, the respirator and everything. As I say, thank you very much once again, Kevin. Greatly appreciated. And obviously, helmet aside, it just shows you how sort of British the Dutch army looked in the 1950s and early 1960s. The battle dress and the web equipment essentially copied from 1937 pattern. So I hope you found it interesting, as I say, looking through these various bits and pieces. There will be more of these videos coming up soon. I think there's a few bits and pieces on the way, so I'll definitely be making videos, not necessarily Dutch kit, but other kit as well. When they arrive, we'll do more unboxing videos looking at those as they arrive. As I say, I hope you found this interesting. If you have and you'd like to see more from the channel, then please do consider subscribing if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the little notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you'd like to support the channel, you can. There's Patreon and PayPal link down below. And a huge thank you as ever to everybody who supports the channel using those two methods. Greatly appreciated, everyone. Thank you very much indeed. If you want to follow the channel on social media, you can. There's Facebook, Instagram and Twitter all linked down below. And if you want to make contact but you don't really use social media, there is of course an email address down there as well. But that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So until next time, bye for now.